You know what makes me very happy about this chapter? It's not the fact that Kirishima got a power-up. It's not the fact that his power-up is kind of balanced because it can only last 30 to 40 seconds. And it's not the fact that all of our characters are meeting up at the end of the chapter either to go after Overhaul. What really made me love this chapter was the fact that even though Kirishima helped take down a villain, even though he got noticed on social media, everybody noticed him, he was getting praised, Bakugo got angry, what got me truly happy about this chapter was the fact that even though he helped out and he was able to suppress the villain, what Fat Gum did when he stood up and stopped the man from escaping, I like that scene. Because number one, it shows that Kirishima, even though he is powerful, even though he got a power-up, and his quirk ability is not that impressive, it's very straightforward, but he has proved himself, even despite all of these things, there is still some problems with him. He is not the best type of hero. What I'm getting at is that he's a good hero, he got acknowledged, but he isn't the best of the best. Even if you're in one of the best schools of all time, doesn't automatically make you a #1 hero. And I like that entire aspect of this chapter, and the way Horikoshi showed that. The way he was letting us know that even though Kirishima had a very impressive performance, he still could not get the job done correctly, 100% by himself. If it wasn't for Fat Gum jumping in and taking control of the situation and helping out and capturing the dude, this would have went really bad quickly. And so, Kirishima, he may have won, he may have gotten good news coverage and all of that, but there's obviously some things here he needs to work on, and you know he's going to realize this, which I'm very proud. I'm very proud that Horikoshi showcased that. It grounds this series in kind of some form of realism, that even though he's a good hero, he is not the best. And you're going to need a lot of training and a lot of effort to get up there, even if you already have an impressive performance on your first day. So thank you very much, Horikoshi, for just showcasing that with Kirishima's character. So let's talk about the overall form, the way it looks, the design of it. Oh my god, like, he straight up looks like a villain. Kirishima looks like a villain. And that alone just makes me just joy. I have so much joy just seeing that form. Because I've said this many times, I love the designs of Boku no Hero Academia. They're always just breathtaking, the way Horikoshi dives in and gives these very interesting concepts for characters that you've really never seen before. And when you see this design of Kirishima, the way his, like, full-on hardened form looks, his unbreakable mode, I'm like, bro, that looks so good. Like, that looks just so fucking badass. Like, I want to see official cover page of that. Like, I want to see, like, maybe the volume for this, chapter, like, where this chapter is going to be in the volume. I want to see the volume have Kirishima on it with this form, because that form looks so awesome, and I cannot wait to see that animated in the anime, because holy hell, eventually we're gonna see that if the anime continues to gain popularity and sell well or whatever. We know we're eventually gonna get to see this chapter animated, so oh my god, I cannot wait to see this in some form colored. I can't wait to see official form of this being colored, but on top of that, I can't wait to see this possibly animated in the future, just because of how badass it was. But it's not just that, though. Even despite this power-up, I really like the concept that it was balanced. It's a very strong ability, even though he has a very straightforward quirk, and that was one of the big things when it came to his character development in last chapter. Still, I like how his overall appearance was very flashy when he did this, maybe for a quick couple of seconds, but still, it looked really fucking cool. And the way he actually was able to stop this man, but the man was able to talk him out of it, or, be able to work his way out of the situation where he could escape, I'm like, that truly shows the inexperience of Kirishima. And it also shows that this is something you're going to have to deal with constantly when you're confronted against villains. I've discussed this in last chapter, to where all these different characters or people, you know, villains, most likely they didn't choose to be a villain. It was because of the way their life was, what quirk they were born with, their upbringing, and all that. It's what caused them to turn to a life of crime, or why this one character turned to being a villain, or taking these drugs, or whatever. We kind of know his reasoning. But regardless of this reasoning or not, still, his actions, he made those choices on his own. He was the one that made that decision. No one else technically forced him. He actually made that decision. Now, some characters in the world of Boku no Hero, maybe they were manipulated and forced into their situation, but overall, from what we can gather from this villain, is that he actually made that decision on his own. And when he decided to attack these people, or do whatever he was doing, take this drug, and, you know, attack Sun Eater, he made these choices. And because of those choices, he needs to take responsibility for them. And how he was able to talk to Kirishima, and Kirishima was kind of explaining his situation, which I understand. I understand why Kirishima would do that. It was a very, you know, human response. He would probably do that. And the way the man used that to his advantage to get out of that, to try to escape, that's what normally villains would do. They will say anything that you want to hear before they can get out of there. Maybe either kill you, incapacitate you, or just escape without you even noticing one or the other. And I like how Fat Gum jumped in and was able to control the situation and make sure that the man didn't get to escape at all. And I like the phrase. I love the phrase that he says. You need to extinguish all will to fight in the villains. Oh my god, like, yo, Fat Gum, like, that's badass. That's really badass. Like, extinguish all their will to fight. Isn't that not badass? Seriously, am I the only one that thinks that? That sounds really awesome. Oh, yeah. Anyways, though, apparently the drug that this villain took is kind of like a weaker version of the main thing, which, once again, want to emphasize, I haven't caught up with, you know, the Boku no Hero Academia spinoff. I am reading it. I'm catching up, because I know I need to read it now. It's very important to the plot because of last week's chapter. Not caught up, though. But, the point I'm getting at is that, apparently this drug, it was revealed that this drug isn't as good as the main thing, like stuff you would see from America. This drug is like a knockoff that really isn't that good or effective. It lasts for like 30 minutes or so, while the main drug can last up to like an hour or 2 hours. And so because of this, I'm kind of curious about the after effects of this drug, because many drugs in real life, they have negative effects on the body, and it's very obvious a drug like this that's enhancing your quirk ability, there has to be some form of negative outcome. I mean, that's just how drugs work. And because of that, I wonder how much damage it did to the villain's body for him taking that drug. And since this is a knockoff version of the main drug, that means that there's probably some other chemicals added that might not be as safe as the already bad chemicals in the main drug. Now, don't get me wrong, both drugs are bad, but sometimes probably the main product is probably, you know, less bad for you than the product that's the knockoff, because they're willing to put all that shit just to clog your body up. So I'm going to assume that the drug that is being mass-produced, that's a knockoff version, is probably bad for you. Very bad for you. Even more so than the main version. And then, let's talk about what Sun Eater got shot up with. So, this man, as we know, he got his quirk ability deactivated, and I've already discussed this to where there is a potential possibility that his quirk ability is not permanently gone, because, number one, it has to be a drug. Now, we can automatically kind of connect the dots and assume that whatever's causing this is the little girl. What Overhaul is doing, how he's, you know, manipulating the little girl, and most likely he's, you know, extracting some form of blood or whatever from her, we can assume that is what's creating these bullets, these quirk-disabling bullets. And that's kind of easy to notice right now, but the question is that permanent? Because there is a potential possibility it's permanent, or maybe it's working like a regular drug. And we also need to factor this in as well. Let's just say the quirk ability is only, you know, temporarily, you know, turned off. It's not a permanent thing. Still, if this is a drug, there might be a possibility, since drugs can have negative effects once they leave the body. Once it's flushed out of your system or whatever, a drug can still leave behind a lot of damage in your body. What's to say that this drug doesn't leave damage to Sun Eater's quirk? Like, he's not as good as he once was with it, or he can't use it properly like he used to maybe a couple chapters ago. So, what if? Like, if you had a lot of exposure to this drug, there would be so many negative repercussions that your quirk would eventually be permanently disabled. Who knows? I mean, that might be a possibility. So, at this time, we don't know if it's permanent or not. We could assume it's not because of Sun Eater being in the meeting at the end of the chapter, but also we could factor this in as well. Maybe the reason why Sun Eater is there in the first place is because his quirk is still activated, and that's why there's such an emergency meeting going on right now. Like, why the plans are initiating so fast is because, like, holy shit, they have a person that can disable quirk abilities, these bullets or weapons or whatever. That's very bad, because if something like that can be done to Sun Eater, and he's such a really high-ranked student, imagine what can be done to pro heroes and stuff. They get shot if they don't have, like, a quirk ability like, you know, Kirishima to be able to harden their skin. They're gonna get fucked over. So when you look at it like that, maybe that's why the emergency meeting is being called, because of what happened to Sun Eater. Maybe his quirk ability is still deactivated, or it's back, but it's still a pressing problem. Even if it's only, you know, for a certain amount of time that your quirk is disabled, it's still a bad problem, because if Hero is in a fight with a villain shoots him with, you know, an actual bullet that can disable your quirk, automatically that villain can kill you, because you can't fight back. You're dead as hell. Like, even someone like All Might, I don't know exactly how tough All Might's skin was, because we don't really know the actual estimates and stuff on All Might's true prime self, but because of this, we can assume that even All Might might have gotten affected by this bullet, and if something like that could happen, you can already imagine that's very scary. That's a very scary outlook on this, and that's probably why they're all worried. On top of that, All Might's no longer around, so he's not there to leave pressure on villains to where they don't want to rise up. That was the big point of All Might in the first place. He was the symbol of peace. His very name, you know, put fear into villains everywhere around. And so because of this, no villain really wanted to rise up. But now with All Might falling from grace, the pillar is gone, obviously many villains are going to take this time to really start to attack and do whatever they want to do. And so that's probably also why this meeting is happening, because All Might's not there, and so they need to really think and bring in the top heroes like Gran Torino and all them, Aizawa, to be able to handle the situation. So I like how Horikoshi kind of dived into this with this chapter. Very good stuff. I am proud of you, Horikoshi, for how you handled this chapter. So yeah, one last thing to talk about would be the reaction to the news. I like how Kirishima got noticed. I like how he got noticed in the news, social media, and that he's being praised right now. He's a really good hero. He's gaining some fans. That makes me very happy to see, and I just really love Bakugo being jealous. Like, you could see he was really upset. Like, this man was really angry, and we know Bakugo, he cares about Kirishima. It's like his best friend, almost. We know the relationship, but the man's kind of pissed off because he's jealous. He usually, when he gets, you know, news coverage, it's usually negative, so it's kind of understandable why Bakugo would act like he is when he heard that Kirishima got such good news applied to him, like, oh, he's a really great hero and all that. Just the jealousy in his face is pretty damn hilarious. But also Ochako and Tsuyu as well, they got noticed, and they did a very good job, and people are complimenting them, saying they were very cute and all that. They had wonderful costumes, so just very good stuff in this chapter. A lot of little details here and there for our support cast and all that, so once again, Horikoshi doing what he does best. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.